So I think we can all agree that the market will take a dip at some point. Now we have to figure out when and why. In this video, we're looking at the reasons why our market will drop and potentially answer some of the questions of when it will fall and maybe go over a few misconceptions within the real estate market. Now here's a disclaimer. As a realtor, I do advocate to put your family in a great position. 9 times out of 10, you do that by buying and selling a home. As long as you continue to live below your means. However, I think it's only fair to tell you all news and information, not just propaganda, and it's up to you to make decisions based off of facts and data. And I just hope I can be there to help. Fair? Okay, let's get into the show. So I decided to dive as deep as possible and answer some of the questions we have all on our minds regarding real estate, and I'll attempt to do this without sounding like a crazy person. Well, I'll try. Okay, so is this real estate market dropping or going to drop? Yes, nothing in this real estate market, even stock market, screams stability. But the difference between the two is, well, real estate typically doesn't implode. It's not like the stock market where you wake up one morning and it's 20% lower than it was the day before. Look at the Great Recession. We peaked out in 2006, but the real estate market didn't bottom out until 2012, 6 years later. Compare that with the Great Depression and the infamous Black Monday in 1929 and in 1987. So in other words, the real estate market moves at a glacier's pace, and answering this question is like catching a falling knife. You just gotta let it fall and then we'll pick it up. But before I truly attempt to answer this question, I have to explain why is demand so high right now. Well, there's a number of reasons. Before this whole COVID thing, demand was already high. Builders were already struggling to keep up with demand. The middle class had more money in their checking and savings, thus people were upgrading. Mix that in with low interest rates, a pandemic, people now working from home, suburban migration, along with Gen Zs entering an already crowded buyer's market with millennials and baby boomers, and you have what we have today. Oh, and let me not forget, big-time investors with their large portfolios like BlackRock have also invested in the residential sphere over the past couple of years. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's figure out some of the reasons why we could see a fall or dip in the market. Home loan volume is slowing down probably because we have such a affordability issue. Home buyer sentiment or consumer buyer sentiment is at its weakest it's been since 1983. And if you take a look back, then you will see that interest rates were at an all-time high and the United States was actually going through a recession. When you compare that to today, despite wage growth, people do not intend to purchase appliances, vehicles, and homes within the next 6 months. I think it's because of prices are so high and probably supply chain issues as well. Sure, buyers will be able to afford their monthly mortgage payments, but buyers may not be able to put the 20% down required on a loan because of the overall price tag is so high. People were eager in 2020 and the early part of 2021, but maybe buyers are tired of bidding wars and there may be some buyer fatigue. But we may not see prices come down just yet, because of a few reasons. Very low inventory, cost of goods have increased, low interest rates, and even inflation. According to economist Peter Schiff, when you measure our input and our export skyrocketed to 14.4% year over year, which at first glance looks good, but the reason it increased is not as good. Because it costs us more to make the original stuff we were already making. You have high unemployment, but no one to make the goods and services. I see it in the front lines with the listings or with my listings. You'll have 30 or more showings on just one property. The majority of the time you'll have multiple offers. So the demand is still high. But people still want to work from home, and that trend will stick over the next few years. Yes, the market will adjust, but this is not going to be for another few more years. Because if you look at the migration patterns, population growth, or the lack thereof, sure, the death rate is actually something we have to study because 50% of homes are owned by baby boomers, but population is generally decreasing. So things could actually even itself out over the next 10 years. But I digress. Another issue we have to solve for is the commercial mortgage-backed securities, which are not supported by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Even though office space didn't do as bad as we all thought back in January, how many of those office or big-time companies will, with those large office buildings, are going to renew their leases? And with increased red tape and decrease in entrepreneurship within the United States, we may have some issues when you look at the downtown big city areas. That may be the domino, but again, big corporate entities are getting more aggressive within the residential side, so it may keep costs high, and big cities have an incentive to keep prices healthy or high, especially when you see that 53% of all the Fed's assets are actually mortgages. So in short, it's tough to predict the future, especially when this market doesn't really make much sense. But I think our real estate market will first slowly come back to its normal trend line or homeostasis like it has historically always done. Then it may falter in the far future. So if I had to put a timeline on it, if I had to absolutely put hard numbers to it, which please, this is as best of a guess as everybody else, we will see a normal real estate market by the first year of 2022, especially having an increase in 122% in construction permits for the city of Detroit, which will take some time to pan out over the next few years. But then who knows what will happen after that. Also, a lot can happen now. A comet could hit and ruin all of this. Or inflation could really get out of hand, which it should get up to 7.5% this year. So really, time will tell. And all we can do right now is make educated guesses. That's all I have for today, folks. So anyways, I'm Mike. I'd like to know what you think. Post a comment below, email me, get a hold of me. I'd love to have conversations about real estate. If you have any questions or concerns, give me a shout out. Maybe we can talk and figure this out together. Thank you for your time.